Hello and welcome to Drop the Mic Podcast, where we discuss technology, theology, and all things in between. I want to personally thank you for joining us today. Now sit back, relax, share this, engage with the podcast that's already in progress. God bless you. Hey guys, your boy DK Hammond's here, and I have who I think is one of the smartest people in the business as it relates to technology. You don't want to miss this conversation. It's going to be pivotal. It's going to bless your ministry as well as your church. Stick around. All right, so glad you guys are here. I'm DK Hammond's Bridging Technology and Theology. And I get the opportunity sometimes to travel and speak. And sometimes I get a chance to meet some of my social media friends. And this person is no different. He is a Morehouse grad. He's a man of God outside of his D9 affiliate.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I was going to leave it alone, but you started it.
You're a man of God.
I'll do it.
He's a man of integrity. I love his heart as it relates to ministry. We try to bring on people who are both smart and have heart as it relates to conversations we have. None other than Dr. Timothy Farmer. Brother, how you feeling? How you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm glad to be here and certainly honored by all of your kind words. And I certainly reciprocate those kind words to all of the great things that you're doing in ministry. I keep my tennis shoes on, trying to keep up with you and follow all of the great things. So certainly am grateful for you and proud of you. And the best is yet to come.
Thank you, man. And the best is yet to come because I always had this conversation about having the smart people in the room. I feel like you're one of those smarter people. Kind of walk people through how you got started in tech and how you're bridging tech and preaching, because it's only, when I say it's only a few of us that's doing that, it's very few of us that's doing that. So how are you doing that? How'd you get started?
Yeah, so my technology trajectory started, it was twofold, both as an educator. So after graduating from Morehouse, I taught in Atlanta public schools for several years and was fortunate to have an opportunity to showcase how technology helps to reduce time in terms of processes and efficiencies for teachers and also for students, and then transcended over into working in IT and then teaching teachers and administrators how to use technology to maximize instruction. But as far as what really developed a passion for me was the other aspect of my professional life was in ministry. I attended seminary at ITC, the Interdenominational Theological Center, and one of the electives was teaching with multimedia. And this was an introduction to technology in the seminary space because at that time, there was no class like that. And so because of that, the teacher was pretty much just asked to teach the class without any technological knowledge. And so we had a book and the teacher said, hey, does anybody know how to use technology? And one day when we all had to teach or had to preach a sermon with using technology, I volunteered and said, well, I know how to use technology from working in the church, being in the church all of my life, know how to turn the mics on and everything like that. So the teacher said, hey, well, why don't you develop a lesson? And I taught one day and I ended up teaching the rest of the semester. And so as far as church technology, the rest is history. But it certainly sparked a passion, but also a concern, because at the time we were preparing to graduate, and this was just one class and one opportunity for just a handful of graduates who were leaving seminary, going out into a ministry world without any type of preparation regarding how to integrate technology in ministry. So that pulled at the heartstrings for me as it relates to having the opportunities to teach and to share ways to use technology in ministry.
Mm. Yeah, man, that's a good arc as a
Mhm.
relate a technological arc.
And it
I
still is a concern because
Oh,
we
no
still have
doubt.
yet to get there.
It's a fleeting concern that I think a lot of leaders, um, while in pandemic, were kind of running towards it because it was a means to an end and it kind of was a solution to a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But now I see leaders because people are kind of coming back, going away from it, and now you're looking at this hybrid model church that we're in currently, and you can't go away from it.
No.
These things are merged, tethered, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
together, and we have to figure out that way to find, as you mentioned, that harmony, not necessarily balance, because balance is a fleeting thought, in my opinion, but a harmony in between these two worlds. And I think that's a very interesting arc, as a technologist, that you go to school to be trained, and then you end up having to do the training yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for my audience that's listening, I think that's important for you guys to pick up. Like, many of us, we are answering the call in technology,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
definitely.
because there's nothing there or nobody there to kind of help facilitate and push us to the next place. And so when I think about the next place, let's talk about some of these tools and classes that you use or tech stacks that we're using in
Mm-hmm.
church
Right.
that's extremely helpful and that you're using. Because I watch your posts a lot, and I saw that you were using AI to kind of help with some of the Sunday morning experience. So walk us through some helpful tech stacks or tech stacks that you're using on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few out there to help maximize ministry and to frustration and burnout. I think we're called to be, especially in the creative space, having the ability to flourish with our level of innovation without the minutia of all of the processes. And I think that one of the things that the church has benefited from with AI is the ability to see how it can enhance the Sunday morning experience as well as connect people. I think connection with people is extremely important. And with connecting people using certainly the Sunday morning experience, making sure by heart with church technology, I'm an audio engineer and a videographer. So making sure that the video and audio is pristine to help bring people in, and then using a favorite tool of mine as it relates to kind of a one-stop shop is Restream. So Restream broadcasts the service. Then after the service is over, then it has AI built into it to take that service and to clip it down into reels that can then be posted on social media to connect the person who would never watch the whole service. But because data suggests, and certainly with YouTube and social media platforms, the attraction for people to social media is not through watching an entire worship service.
No.
It's the reels and it's the short clips that draw the people in. And there's data to support that. So
That's you in my lane. You in the vein, you're in the lane, because
yeah.
there's plenty of data that shows that before virality hits, there's this trend where people are watching the smaller videos and then going into the virality aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
which I
Yeah.
think is an opportunity. But yeah, it's good
Mm-hmm.
that Restream has that. Not many encoder systems. An encoder basically is, y'all, we're gonna kind of nerd out, so just give us a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
The encoder system ultimately allows a person to stream. It allows us to display on the other side of the screen for you. So we have to have an encoder system, and then we have to have 6 or 7 other systems that support and allow us to stream. And so Restream is that. So you also have Boxcast, I think,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
another encoder. You have
Mm-hmm.
Resi. That's another
Yeah.
encoder.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
tell us, how'd you land on Restream versus these other um, institutions that
Hmm.
exist?
Yeah. So, to your point, again, in nerding out, I always, if ever the conversation around encoders come up, is as much as possible, using, if you're broadcasting a worship service, is to encode as much as possible directly through a physical encoder.
Yes.
I mean, there are several other computer based tools, but if you stream directly through an encoder, that's going to give you the most reliable connection. I
Hmm.
mean, you got Black Magic, you got
Hmm.
several,
I
and
love Black
so
Magic.
I landed on Restream because at the time, another, like you mentioned, Resi is a good platform that's
Mhm.
owned by a company or works in tandem with a software called ProPresenter
That's
that
correct.
many churches use
Mhm.
at the time, which now they have another platform. It was a delay. So
It
their
was.
technology delays the service in order to buffer out any issues that might
Mhm.
arise in the stream.
Mhm.
So, but in maintaining the real time, I wanted to use a tool. And now another one is StreamYard, that
Mhm.
is basically used for panel type of discussions. But I landed on Restream because of it had at the time the majority of the features I needed. If I wanted to
Yes.
do a panel
Mhm.
discussion, I could do that, or the pastor could do a virtual prayer call, and I can use it for Sunday morning. So it was technical enough for me being savvy and user friendly enough for my
That's good.
pastor to
That's
go
good.
in and use easily.
Yes. That's amazing, man. I think finding tools that everybody can use is so critical as it relates to church because everybody's not on the same page, man. But you mentioned about encoder, and there's one thing that I want people to understand. While he talked about two encoders, he talked about the one that's usually a part of your tech stack and the one that's digital. And the reason why they exist normally is for redundancy. If one goes down, the other one can support you and take care of you while you get that fixed. So always remember in this tech world, this thing called redundancy. You gotta have it. You need to have it. I'll give you an example, bro. The
Hmm.
church I was working for, we were working on our internet, and the internet is like this critical tool that if you've ever had internet issues at your church, it will make things very uncomfortable and tense because you don't have internet. And so I suggest that if you are a church above a certain people, whatever, that you go fiber because it's going to normally be 99.9% up depending on the actual company you go for.
Hmm.
And so
Exactly.
this particular company that I was working for, they had a regular business shared internet line, and the internet was dropping within Black Magic almost every 30 seconds, right? And no matter if you had Resi or not, Resi will go back and make sure at the end
Right.
your stream is complete. But
Correct.
during
The
the
real
stream,
time. Hmm.
yes, it is a little bit hard and cumbersome to go past. So I want people to always understand that. The reason why we're talking in tandem is when you're dealing in tech, there's a such thing called redundancy that you must have. It has to
Yeah.
be there. It's an unavoidable thing. Brother Farmer, how you
Yeah.
feel about that, man?
You really struck a nerve right there with me because there is a saying that I live by.
Okay. All right.
The function is more important or as equally as important as the facade.
Mm,
And I say that because many times we put intentionality around the outward look of a broadcast in terms of graphics, cameras, sound, but fail to ensure that there is the right infrastructure to
my
support that
God.
function and facade. So just like you have the AV upgrade or AV in place, you gotta have robust internet, internet that can be monitored.
Mhm.
And I know every church is at different levels of what they can
Yes.
do
Yes.
as far as budget, but even now, even fiber has become much more budget friendly
Mhm.
to be manageable for churches of all sizes. And so, and I also say this, with internet, and I can imagine possibly what happened and where you were. Many churches have one internet source, and is used for streaming, is used for Wi-Fi, is used for the church office, is used for security cameras, is used for everything. And so on a Sunday morning, you're putting a lot of load on one internet source for streaming already, let alone people who will be in the sanctuary, which I don't understand. They'll watch the stream in church. So they're pulling down on the internet. So functionality also means having internet dedicated, if you can, specifically to stream.
Here's another one. Again, we nerding out. We get back focused.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about is having SSIDs assigned. And when you have SSIDs assigned, then I can segment internet to be strictly for in-house, or I can segment internet to be for the band area. And I can segment these things out so they don't pull at your payload as it relates to your internet. Because if there's not any segmentation, then as you mentioned, there's going to be somebody watching the full stream in church. There's going to be somebody watching, your kids are going to have the stream up watching cartoons in church. And all of this impacts the usage of your
And if that keeps them quiet, so be it. But,
you got to also understand there's another side of that too.
Yeah.
That I think people kind of miss because it's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is having to tweak, curtail, make sure that convenience is prepared for you in your local church. And internet is one of those critical pieces that I've seen, that I've had to go through. I had to have a line digged up from the actual source all the way into the building to ensure that we had a dedicated line to make sure the internet was never to happen. And if that internet did go down, because it may, we also had a redundancy measure that would automatically kick in. It's called a failover. It will kick right in, and that internet will continue to thrive no matter what the situation is. So that's pastor, leader. If you hear our hearts, redundancy. You said something about facade over what now, brother?
Yeah. Function over facade.
Function over facade, redundancy, function over facade. And make sure you have the right tech stack as it relates to your church. And if you don't know what a tech stack is, please reach out to myself, Dr. Former, so that we can get you consulted and make sure you have the right tech stack for your local fellowship.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think to add to that is having good relationships with internet, in addition to your internet service provider, also a network provider, meaning if you need Wi-Fi set up, if you need hardwired lines set up, have a relationship with a networking company. Your AT&Ts and Comcast, they don't do that.
That's the internet company. That's
just providing you with internet. But more and more equipment in churches require some type of network connection. So get a relationship. And as you indicated, if you need a resource for network setups or assessments, knowing what you need, because you need it, no doubt.
You need it. All right, this is great. So let's talk about hidden gaps. What's the biggest misconceptions pastors and church leaders have about church audio?
Biggest misconception is that you can come in on a Sunday morning and everything works like magic. That's the biggest misconception, that a magic wand can be waved and everything is going to be pristine without anything else around that worship moment in terms of preparation, sound checks, and rehearsals. Even to the pastor, from sound checks, choirs, and musicians do that, but even the pastor and the leaders need to know the importance of a sound check.
Yeah, I would say that is good, because most of the times pastors just show up and then expect everything to be optimal, even to their own voice liking.
Or their monitors.
Monitors. And you probably wouldn't have to call nobody's name out during service if you sound check before service. You would have to call Dr. Former if you would sound check before service.
Even for pastor, I would say once a month or twice a month.
Sure. Sure,
you
sure,
know,
sure, sure,
just
sure.
to, so that keeps down the, you know, give me a little bit more in the monitors, you know. And that also comes with a relationship with the pastor because, you may
Mhm.
have a pastor who might have, I know one who has sinus challenges. And if I hear his voice
Mhm.
a certain way, I know so,
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
work with those nuances, but sound checks are critical.
no doubt. I think another misconception, especially like in the conference space, is that the internet belongs to the person hosting the event.
Mm,
It does not.
it does not. No.
That internet is there's a process to that, but I'm just letting y'all know that that comes from somebody else. Now they're responsible to pay for that, and if they have paid for it and it hadn't been provided, that's a misconception. The other misconception I think is everybody is not a sound technician.
Everybody's not a sound technician. There is a sound professional is a sound professional is different. And again, I know every church is at a different space as far
Mhm.
as what they can do, but it's different from a person who is a volunteer. So based on that, then the expectation has to be understood around that.
Mhm.
And I think that there needs to be opportunities for whatever the church's size is for training, and if it's volunteer based, giving them the tools that they need to do the best that they can. And that does come with the more that practice or sound checks are in place, that gives them a better opportunity to be able to maximize the audio for the worship space and the troubleshoot, because a lot of it is mainly troubleshooting and understanding. And I'm going beyond the pastor's perspective, but even just for the operator's perspective, is knowing your board,
Come on, man.
knowing how it operates, knowing, because the soundboard, I mean, it's a big computer. So taking the time to know it's all the complexities as much as possible.
That's good. That's good. And now that we have streaming, you add another layer of sound
Mm-hmm.
that I think people don't know about as it relates to their sound setup. You
Yeah.
have an in-house sound, but
Right.
then there's a line that goes through, and somebody has to be tweaking the sound that goes on the internet to make sure those things that sound off key can be curtailed and
Yeah.
fixed. And
Yeah,
so,
I think that's a big misconception too. Is,
mhm,
well, how come it sounds different online than what we hear in the sanctuary? And to your point, that's exactly right. You have
yeah,
to have in another space someone who's hearing the sound in real time and can see the service and can then make the adjustments on that stream mix that doesn't affect the house.
that's right. That's right.
Mhm.
What's something that pastors need to understand better about their media as well as their sound teams?
I think developing an understanding of what goes into the worship service from a behind the scenes perspective helps to develop a relationship of understanding and cooperation with that team. I think that no matter how, if even from the largest church, I think there is a great opportunity. It can be a great opportunity through a walkthrough, or whenever the pastor is not preaching, let's say another person is preaching, let's say one of the ministers on staff, is for the pastor to sit and collaborate in the media space, for them to see real time the concentration that goes into making sure the worship service happens. I call the media team the church's first responders.
Hmm.
Ever since COVID, when the media team, they were the ones who were, in a sense, keeping the church service going and keeping the church going, because that was the church
Yes.
that people knew at that time was. So, an understanding the level of rigidity that goes into for that hour and a half, 2 hour time period, or however long the service is, the level of focus and concentration that goes into that moment, that anything at any time can go awry. And they're the ones who are making sure that it doesn't. And if it does, how to show that or to work through it. So that way no one knows.
Yes. I agree. So
Yeah.
as we stay in that lane with live streaming, and we talk about things like engagement versus exposure, we've mastered live streams, but have we actually built online communities? When you hear that statement, how does that lay on you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, and this is where, like to your point, we've come to a certain point where we understand what streaming is and have developed a sense of routine in that regard. But one thing as it relates to community that I don't think we do a good job at is after the service is over,
Hmm.
reviewing data. And then while the service is going on, engaging with people who are watching worship. I think a better job can be done with having a volunteer. There is power in the comments.
Power.
There is power in responding to people.
Yes.
Maya Angelou, one of her famous quotes was, "People don't care how much
No,
they
so they know how much you care.
get you care. That's it.
Hmm. Hmm.
People want to feel like they matter, and the comments is an easy way to do that. And then reviewing data to know how and where people are watching the service, and how long and at what points they're watching the service. And I think that finding ways to use in social media marketing, they call it creating a funnel,
Hmm. Come on.
finding a way to connect with people, get their information, so that way you can instill a sense of value in who your ministry is, in order to then throughout the week have a way to send them an email, to do a personal message to them, to make them, to bring them even more. Because then once you get them in, then you can further develop your connection with them.
Yeah, I think that's real good. And as far as like the African American diaspora, black and brown people specifically, they don't have an opportunity to get into what I would call church marketing funnels.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they feel like, and really, church marketing funnel is a new evangelism, whether
Mm-hmm.
we care to admit that or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, having a process that can literally take a person who is online and make them a member is almost a 25-step process if we put it
Mm-hmm.
in perspective. And I'm quite
Yeah.
sure it may be smaller, but it's around that because I've done it. And if we are intentional about it, those people will come from online into our actual congregation. And even so, there's a study that Pew Research did recently that talks about how people are using this that you and I already knew, but they're using live stream as supplemental, not as supplemental and incremental, but not replacing the actual live church
Mm-hmm.
experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so these people are watching it because they're out of town. They're watching it
Mm-hmm.
because their kids are had the games today.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
watching it because their moms are sick. And even so, the live stream has become the new tape ministry. Tape ministry used to be in place so that older people who could not come to church, they could actually hear the worship experience. Now they can
And
watch
some
it.
people are still holding on
Brother,
to the tape
oh,
minutes.
bro. We're going to talk about that offline. 'Cause I had some thoughts about a recent place you and I both was at that I won't say. But I
I
see,
know. I know.
I
I
was
know.
like, I
Yeah.
said, oh. I,
What is this?
but okay, it taught me and told me this. There's an audience that needs it, and they're paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to that audience. There's a community willing to purchase it, and they're willing to, do that. And there's also more opportunity on the other side if it was digitized. But if their audience needs this, then why replace it? And then when I
Right.
knew that, I thought about that. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Then I understand what you're trying to do. But guys, family members, kindred, please understand that when you're dealing with the live stream, the engagement is such a critical piece. And I'm going to also say this, good and bad engagement,
Mm-hmm.
because there are going to be some trolls that show up.
Trolls.
There are
Mm-hmm.
going to be people that show up that don't like your service, your pastor, the pastor's teaching. All that goes into engagement and drives numbers. So don't get upset because you see this overarching information about the stream. Let it ride, answer what you need to answer. And if somebody's being abusive, then you have a choice. You can either let them continue to talk or block them.
Right.
It's not hard. But I think we have to now set forth the precedent of taking full advantage of our live stream because it is another extension of our local fellowship,
Yeah.
and people are
And
getting that.
it does, it has some, the live stream, in addition to your point, in addition to the live moment, it has some opportunities to live online by proper use of algorithms. So an algorithm is a formula that causes what you post online to be more visible,
Yes.
to define it. But even making sure that titles of broadcasts are intentional. And I even encourage pastors, as you think about your sermon title, make sure that it's hashtag friendly. So that way that can be posted, or have elements of it that are hashtag friendly. So that way in the YouTube description, those can be placed there. So when people are searching for sermon, or not even sermon, even outside of just what people think about church, but peace, joy, finances, whatever your elements of your sermon might include that might resonate with a broad audience, needs to be a part of the description. So that way it's easy to be caught up in the algorithm, to pop up in the search results on YouTube or Facebook or Google.
All right. So now you got me activated. So let's talk about that. Now you mentioned. Let me make sure I got you right. We were talking about um, how things show up on YouTube and Facebook. I would like to offer our audience a method to become more SEO friendly and searchable right now, because this is what I do. Okay. First, the first part of your title is usually your church's name. It's your church's name. So if your church is Mount Moriah, or your church
Mm-hmm.
is this church, you're going to have their name. You're going to have slashes, maybe one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have the title or the question that the sermon answers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this, you have the question the sermon answers, and then you have another slash. This other slash could be used either your date,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the pastor's name.
Name.
You'll
Mm-hmm.
see those four combinations in a YouTube title. What I see churches falling into the trap is the pastor's title is for a local conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't flip that in YouTube to make it for a broader audience so that we can become more searchable through the
Mm-hmm.
SEO and the algorithmic track.
Right.
That's a free tip I'm gonna give to y'all. Please, I promise you, he's saying the same thing. Here's the next tip I'm gonna give to you.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure that as you use that title setup, because it's SEO friendly, search engine optimization is what SEO means. You need to make sure the description is equally as clean. What should go into your description? Now we can talk about what the sermon may have been about. We can have links to how to follow up. We can have links to plan your visit. We can answer questions that people may ask in the description that is SEO friendly. If you do those two things, you're going to see an uptick of
Mm-hmm.
being more searchable, because they're going to see that, as well as you're going to see the clips that you are offering to them, and this thing is going to be a plan for you. That's just a quick plan. I promise you, he's shaking his
Mm-hmm.
head because he knows exactly what I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not far off.
Yeah. Oh
What's
no.
the, go ahead, brother?
Yeah.
You gonna add to that?
Yeah. And to add to that, for the ones who aren't, as far as, who, to save time in developing that, even if it's not developed prior to service, which is, it will be good if it is, if there's access to, I know some pastors have an outline or manuscript, or just to get the title and some keywords, then you can, or even after, to refine it, again, giving this out for free, you can add to the tech stack, use tools like otter.ai, and then Otter will let you include the link to the YouTube. It will listen to, and you can tell it where you want to start and stop to that YouTube, so that way it can pull the sermon audio, and then it will develop the title that works best, and the description, and you can combine that with what you already have in it, such as the links to your ways to give or how to connect or to request prayer. So to customize it even more, but also have its vantage point of what will make it most optimized for SEO and for algorithms. So,
Hey,
that's the free one. That's the freebie for the day.
that's the freebie for the day. Again, if you guys want more information about this type of stuff, he and I can geek over about this all the time.
Yeah.
Definitely hit the inbox, go to the websites, get this information for your local fellowship. And maybe here's what I need for us to start considering. Maybe your local fellowship can't afford somebody like us to come in. See if we can come in as a group so that it can help everybody around our church experience. We would love to, indulge in that. All right, cool. So we're coming to the end, good brother.
Yes,
I got
sir.
some rapid fire questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Favorite microphone?
Sure, SM7B.
Okay. All right. Analog or digital?
Digital.
Yeah, y'all don't want to go back analog.
Digital all the way.
One thing sound guys never want pastors to touch.
The power button on the mic.
Please don't touch the power button. And don't touch the soundboard either. While y'all at it.
Don't touch it. Don't touch the soundboard.
Leave
No.
the soundboard alone. Most underrated tech tool out right now.
Gamma.
Yeah, Gamma's good.
Gamma is an underrated tool. If I can do two,
Okay.
Gamma and Adobe Express.
Okay. Now I would say if we're going cost budget friendly, tech tool, I would say DaVinci.
Okay, yeah, DaVinci, yeah. I like DaVinci.
If
I'm still learning it.
Brother, if you know what you just know about Adobe, you fine. You in good shape. Don't do too much because you got to make me work hard.
You're good. You're good.
So I've been using Affinity because Affinity has just got bought out by Canva. And eventually that same model is going to be into Canva. And I've been learning that, and it looks exactly like Photoshop. And so it has design, it has all of that. So those are good ones. Another thing I think people sleep on is I also use Descript.
Descript, yep. Yeah, Descript is good.
You had your hand up.
And I did. Adobe Podcast. Even if you're not a podcaster, but you're in the audio space, it cleans up audio wonderfully.
And if you're going to do podcasting, go to Notebook LM. It'll also it'll take your it'll transcribe your stuff and make it into a podcast in different voices.
To a podcast. Yeah.
If you're looking for voices, 11 Labs. If you're looking for voices for like announcements and things of that nature, 11 Labs. Okay. So church.
And Read.ai is another one, is another good tool.
What's some churches you admire for doing tech right?
Good question. So, and if I can divide that by small, medium, and large. So, I think churches that do it well, I admire from a visual standpoint. Wheeler Avenue. I think they have their video wall is one of the best I've seen. How it works. I think and that's another. I'm sure that could be a whole nother podcast about video walls and best practices around that.
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. It's a tool that has there's a skill behind it. So I think they have a good visual presentation. I think another church that does it well that I admire Alfred Street.
Yes,
I like what they do with their media. I also like, why can I think of the name? It escapes me. I had to think about my home church, Greater Piney Grove. They do a great job with, and that's here in Atlanta, Decatur, Georgia. They do a great job with connecting with people through their broadcast. So they do that well. I also admire, there's several out there. I admire New Birth from a lighting. I'm a big lighting person. So they do great with lighting. So those are a couple of them. I also like a Church Without Walls and Dream Center here in Atlanta. Dream Center is kind of the middle size, but they do a great job with their sound. Their sound is really good.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So I think Wheeler has already been mentioned. If you guys have not checked out Wheeler, just the overall package of how it is the emergence of modern and traditional, I think they really attempt to get that right. And I love how they present every single day, and it shows in their numbers. Like you can go on Wheeler at any time; it's 3,000 people watching online. That's an easy number. So I like Wheeler. I like Change Church. What they're
Love
doing
change.
in the smaller environments as well as in the big ones. Change is a really good one that I enjoy.
Elizabeth Baptist Church does it well too
I
here.
swear, EBC is
Dollar.
EBC. Yeah, EBC is pretty cool. If I'm thinking of, I think another one that gets it right, Antioch Fellowship, that's here in Dallas with Pastor Chris. They're ones who I feel like they get it really right. If I'm thinking of somebody who kind of has everything packaged well, you're thinking about something like the Elevations, you're thinking about something like Saddlebacks. They get it, really right from this. As much as people hate it, Mike Todd and Transformation, they get it real right.
Yeah.
A lot. And some other areas you can debate in the comments later.
Yeah. And there's so many out there
Yeah,
that are doing well. And I think that there are opportunities for all of our ministries because each of our ministries has a different culture and a different style. And I think the more to your point about merging the tradition and the modern, I think the main thing with worship is making sure that it maximizes how the culture of that church is projected because everyone is not a large church ministry person. But if I'm the student who's away at college and I grew up in a small church, how can there be a ministry I watch online mirror, if it's not my own ministry, mirror the ministry I'm accustomed to?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw another special shout out because I've been there at least 3 times in the past 6 months, and that is the Rock Church in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
Pastor Mike Jr., they have and actually people think their church is real big. It's not. They have a smaller church, probably less than 2,000 people that can sit in there.
Yeah.
But it looks a certain way online, and the experience is dope. Brother Farmer, Brother Noop. Now, this is a Kappa man. It's not a Noop. It's a cold. I'm gonna give him his clout. There's a difference.
Bless you, sir. Bless you, sir.
So give us your parting thoughts, final thoughts for the audience as it relates to our conversation today.
Certainly, I think ministry, no matter the size, you don't have to be a large church to be a first class church. First class ministry is a mindset, and at any level of demographic, we can maximize what first class looks like. If I can do a shameless plug for the First Class Church podcast, where we talk about all things first class and the things that will help to maximize both in technology and just in operations and other places. But I think that being a first class ministry is what we should all strive for, both on the technology side and what happens after service is over. Church really happens Monday through Saturday, and we celebrate on Sunday. So how does our Sunday experience represent what happens in the church Monday through Saturday to be a first class church?
That's good. Brother, how can our audience get to know you better? Where can they find you online? How can they support you and your book that you have? Please share that with us.
Sure. So I'm an audio engineer, also a technology director, and do training with churches as well as provide support as far as installations, and information about those services can be found on my website at Farmer Tech Group, which is my last name, techgroup.com. And in addition to that, as I mentioned, there's a link to it on the website, but on YouTube, you can find us at Farmer Tech Group, as well as the First Class Church podcast. At Farmer Tech Group, as it was mentioned, as Brother Hammonds mentioned, I am a new author of a book called Beyond the Soundboard, which helps to dispel some of the and demystify some of the things or perceptions that pastors and church leaders have around the cost of technology and the return on investment that it should be, and that it's not just a flick of a button, but there's intentionality that goes around that. So it's called Beyond the Soundboard. I don't know if you can see that, but it is on Amazon.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's on Amazon, but you can also get it at farmertechgroup.com, and I believe it will be a blessing to you.
Please go pick up the material. Please bring him in for your conference conversations. Please support this brother as he continues to do the work of what I think is the kingdom work that has to be, it's new work. And so we want to make sure that we do that, support his book, support his ministry and his podcast. We thank y'all for being around for this. We just pray that this was helpful. And if it was, drop it in the comments, share it with your community, share it in the chat, what you've learned and how this has been a blessing to you.
Yeah. And bless you too, sir. You keep up the good work. I honor all that you're doing, and certainly pray continued blessings on all that you're doing.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. My hope is that the podcast added value to your life. Please, please, please subscribe from your favorite application, leave us a review, and even follow us on YouTube for your up-to-date information. Thank you.